The arrival. Dr. Maya Rivera stared at the anomalous readings on her quantum scanner, a device of her own design that monitored subspace fluctuations at the edge of our solar system. For 3 days straight, the patterns had grown increasingly organized, too organized to be natural. As the lead physicist at the Global Space Monitoring Initiative, she knew what she was looking at, even if no one else would believe her yet. "Director Chen, we need to talk," Maya said into her comm, her voice steady despite the adrenaline coursing through her veins. "The readings are conclusive. Something is approaching Earth, and it's using technology far beyond our understanding." The emergency meeting at GSMI headquarters in Geneva brought together representatives from every major space agency and military power. Maya's presentation was met with the expected mix of skepticism and alarm until the massive energy spike registered across all global monitoring systems simultaneously. They appeared without warning. 7 crystalline vessels that seemed to materialize from nowhere, bypassing Earth's early detection systems entirely. The largest ship, nearly 10 kilometers in length, positioned itself in geosynchronous orbit over the Atlantic Ocean. The others spread out strategically across the globe, hovering over major population centers. Global communications networks suddenly activated on every screen worldwide. The being that appeared was humanoid but clearly alien, skin the color of burnished copper, with geometric patterns etched across its surface. Eyes that seemed to shift between colors with each blink. "People of Earth, I am Commander Vexlar of the Vexari Dominion. Your planet has been selected for integration into our collective. Your resources and genetic material will serve the greater expansion of our species. Resistance is both futile and illogical. Our civilization has conquered 87 worlds across 12 star systems. We are perfection manifest." The alien's voice had an unsettling harmonic quality, as if multiple voices were speaking in perfect synchronization. "You have 24 of your Earth hours to surrender your governing authorities and military command structures. After this time, we will begin systematic resource acquisition, regardless of your cooperation." As the transmission ended, panic erupted across the globe. Military forces worldwide mobilized, but initial scans revealed shields around the alien vessels that appeared impenetrable to Earth's weapons. At an emergency United Nations session, Maya presented her findings. The quantum signature of their ships suggests they're using some form of dimensional folding technology, essentially existing partially in our dimension and partially in another. That's how they appeared without detection, and why our conventional weapons can't touch them. General Helena Ortiz, commander of the newly formed United Earth Defense Force, leaned forward. "Then what can touch them, Doctor?" Maya took a deep breath. "Their technology relies on perfect mathematical precision. Every system, every calculation, exists in a state of absolute mathematical harmony. It's elegant, but it might also be their weakness." "How so?" asked Director Chen. "In quantum physics, we've discovered that perfect systems are often the most vulnerable to chaos. Their technology seems to operate on absolute predictability. But the universe itself is fundamentally unpredictable at the quantum level. I believe we can exploit this." Within hours, the Vexari demonstrated their technological superiority. Precision strikes disabled major military installations worldwide without a single human casualty, a demonstration of power rather than an attempt at conquest. Their message was clear: resistance would be futile and messy. But humans had never been good at accepting the inevitable. As governments worldwide struggled to coordinate a response, Maya worked tirelessly with a hastily assembled team of quantum physicists, computer scientists, and unconventional thinkers from across the globe. Among them was Dr. Kaido Nakamura, a theoretical physicist whose work on quantum entanglement had been considered too experimental by the scientific community, and Zhou Chen, a teenage math prodigy who saw patterns where others saw only noise. Their systems operate on perfect synchronization, Maya explained to her team, showing holographic renderings of the Vexari communications they'd managed to intercept. "Look at the algorithmic structure. It's flawless, recursive, self-reinforcing. Zoe tilted her head, studying the patterns. Too perfect. No redundancies, no flexibility. It's like they've never encountered systems failure. Exactly, Maya nodded. And in nature, perfect systems are often the most vulnerable to unexpected variables. The first human military response came from a coalition of nations, launching their most advanced weapon systems simultaneously at the smallest Vexari vessel. The missiles and energy weapons simply passed through the ship as if it weren't fully there, while others were deflected by shields that seemed to anticipate each attack's trajectory with impossible precision. The Vexari response was immediate and overwhelming. Targeted energy pulses disabled power grids across major cities worldwide. Millions were plunged into darkness as a second transmission played globally. Your resistance is both expected and disappointing, Commander Vexlar stated. We have studied your species extensively. You are predictable in your defiance, just as all primitive species are. This demonstration of our power is merely the beginning. Surrender now, or we will be forced to take more direct measures. As the deadline approached, Maya's team made a breakthrough. Their communication system, it's using quantum entanglement, but with a rigidity we don't use in our own experiments. Kaito explained, excitement evident in his voice. They've sacrificed adaptability for perfect efficiency. Can we exploit that? General Ortiz asked, looking at the holographic display of Vexari communications. Yes, Maya said, but we need to be unpredictable. Wildly, fundamentally unpredictable in a way their systems can't anticipate. As the Vexari deadline expired, they began their first wave of resource extraction. Massive beams extended from their ships, creating perfect circular sections in the earth below, extracting minerals, water, and organic matter with surgical precision. Maya presented her plan to world leaders in an emergency session. We can't match their technology, but we can introduce quantum chaos into their systems. We need to deploy what we're calling entropy bombs. Not explosives, but devices that generate quantum randomness at a scale that will disrupt their perfectly synchronized systems. Will it destroy them? Asked the U.S. President. No, Maya admitted, but it might blind them temporarily, disrupt their shields, give us an opening for conventional attacks. More importantly, it will show them we aren't as predictable as they think. The plan required global cooperation on an unprecedented scale. Former engineers, hackers, quantum specialists, and unconventional thinkers from around the world were recruited to develop and implement what became known as the Defiance Protocol. Within 72 hours, the first prototype entropy bombs were ready for deployment. They weren't weapons in the traditional sense, more like quantum noise generators designed to introduce fundamental randomness into systems that relied on perfect order. Their ships maintained position using a network of quantum anchors, Maya explained during the final briefing. We need to deploy these devices simultaneously at exactly the right coordinates to disrupt their dimensional stability. Teams of Special Forces operators from a dozen nations prepared for what might be humanity's only chance at meaningful resistance. As the deployment teams moved into position around the world, Maya watched from the GSMI command center, heart pounding. This is either going to work, she told Zoe and Kaito, or it's going to fail spectacularly. Either way, we're about to show the Vexari that humans don't surrender easily. The countdown began as humanity prepared for its first real counterattack against an enemy that had never known defeat. The counterattack. The deployment of the entropy bombs was itself an exercise in controlled chaos. Rather than following predictable military protocols, the Special Forces teams used completely randomized approaches, some disguised as civilians, others using obsolete technology that wouldn't register on advanced scanners, a few even using animal transport in remote regions. The first entropy bomb activated beneath the smallest Vexari vessel hovering over Tokyo. There was no explosion, no visible effect at all, just a sudden surge of quantum randomness that spread through the ship's perfectly aligned systems like ripples in a pond. At first, nothing seemed to happen. Then, The ship's perfect geometric outline began to flicker and distort. "It's working," Kaito shouted, watching the readings from GSNI headquarters. "Their dimensional anchors are destabilizing." Within seconds, the other entropy bombs activated worldwide. The effects varied from ship to ship. Some experienced minor fluctuations, while others began to shift erratically in and out of full materialization. Most importantly, their shields began to falter. General Ortiz didn't waste the opportunity. Pre-positioned conventional forces launched simultaneous attacks on the vulnerable vessels. For the first time, human weapons found their targets, causing visible damage to 3 of the smaller Vexari ships. The alien response was immediate, but notably less coordinated than before. Energy weapons fired from their vessels, but many missed their targets or struck with significantly reduced power. Something had disrupted their perfect calculations. Commander Vexelar's transmission appeared on global networks again, but this time with visible distortion. "This disruption is temporary. You have merely delayed the inevitable. Our adaptation algorithms will compensate." Maya turned to her team. "They're right. The entropy effect won't last. Their systems will adapt. We need to escalate." Phase 2 of the Defiance Protocol was more ambitious and infinitely more risky. If the Vexari relied on perfect mathematical harmony, humanity would respond with deliberate cognitive dissonance. Teams of mathematicians, artists, composers, and even children were brought together to create what Maya called human chaos, patterns of thought and creativity that defied algorithmic prediction. "We're going to broadcast directly into their communication networks," Maya explained to her expanded team. "Not just random noise, but human unpredictability. Music that breaks conventional harmonics, art that defies perspective, mathematics that embraces paradox." This unconventional approach drew skepticism from military leaders, but as Maya pointed out, conventional tactics have already failed. What do we have to lose? The global broadcast began as the Vexari ships were still recovering from the entropy bombs. Every human communication system directed a stream of carefully crafted cognitive chaos directly at the alien vessels, jazz music that deliberately broke rhythm, poetry that violated linguistic patterns, mathematical equations that embraced infinity and uncertainty, children's drawings that defied spatial reasoning. Monitoring stations reported immediate effects. The Vexari communications became erratic, their ship movements less coordinated. Some vessels appeared to experience system failures, while others initiated emergency protocols that seemed to make their situation worse rather than better. "They're trying to adapt," Zoe observed, watching the Vexari response patterns. "But their adaptation algorithms are designed for logical progression. We're feeding them a logical input that gets more unpredictable the more they try to analyze it." Meanwhile, Dr. Eli Washington, a neurologist who had joined Maya's team, had developed what he called a quantum consciousness interface, a device that could translate human brainwave patterns directly into quantum signals. The first prototype was ready just as the Vexari began to recover from the cognitive chaos attack. "This is our most powerful weapon," Maya told the assembled world leaders. "The most unpredictable thing in the universe isn't quantum randomness, it's human creativity. This device will allow us to feed pure human thought directly into their systems." The interface required volunteers whose thought patterns were particularly unique, artists, people with certain neurological conditions that produced unusual brain activity, meditation masters who could achieve unusual brain states. Hundreds came forward, willing to risk the unknown effects of connecting their consciousness to alien technology. As the Vexari flagship began to deploy what appeared to be planetary-scale extraction equipment, the quantum consciousness interface was activated. 50 volunteers worldwide, connected through quantum entanglement, directed their thoughts toward the alien vessels. The effect was immediate and dramatic. The flagship's systems began to fail in cascading sequence. Its perfect crystalline structure became clouded, sections phasing in and out of normal spacetime. The smaller vessels experienced similar effects of varying intensity. A final transmission came from Commander Vexlar, his image now fractured and distorted. "How is this possible? Your species is primitive, your technology inferior, your methods illogical." Maya stood before the emergency UN session, speaking directly to the alien commander. "That's precisely the point. We're not logical. We're not perfect. We embrace chaos, uncertainty, and contradiction. It's not our technology that defeated you. It's our humanity." The Vexari flagship attempted an emergency dimensional shift, but the quantum disruption had compromised its systems too severely. Instead of clean transition, the massive vessel imploded, collapsing into a self-contained dimensional pocket with a flash of light that was visible across half the planet. The remaining ships, now cut off from their command structure, initiated emergency protocols. 3 managed successful dimensional jumps, disappearing from Earth orbit. 2 others, too damaged to escape, drifted powerlessly, soon to be boarded by international teams of scientists and military personnel. 1 final ship remained, neither fleeing nor fighting. After hours of silence, it broadcast a message. "We are the Vexari research contingent. Our mission was to observe and document. What we have witnessed defies all prediction algorithms. We request dialogue." 6 months later, Maya stood before the first official diplomatic meeting between humans and Vexari representatives. The aliens had changed, their once perfectly geometric patterns now showing asymmetry, their speech patterns incorporating elements of human unpredictability. "The Dominion failed to understand your species," the Vexari diplomat stated. "We believed perfect systems were inherently superior to chaotic ones. We have much to learn from each other." Maya nodded. "That's one thing humans understand well. There's always more to learn." The Vexari incident transformed human society. The technologies developed during the crisis accelerated scientific progress by decades. The quantum consciousness interface led to breakthroughs in treating neurological conditions. Most importantly, the unified response to an existential threat had broken down political barriers that had divided humanity for centuries. As Earth established its first official interstellar diplomatic course, rumors spread through newly accessed alien communication channels. Rumors about the unpredictable species that had defeated the undefeatable Vexari Dominion through sheer creative chaos. Other alien civilizations, long suppressed by Vexari expansion, began to reach out cautiously to these strange creatures called humans. Maya often wondered if the Vexari had inadvertently given humanity its greatest gift, not just new technology or awareness of other intelligent life, but the knowledge that our greatest strength had never been our logic or our weapons, but our beautiful, powerful, unpredictable humanity. As she watched construction begin on Earth's first faster-than-light vessel, built with a hybrid of human creativity and adapted Vexari technology, Maya smiled. The universe would never be the same, and neither would we.